got some amazing ladies with me in the studio. They're going to be telling us what exactly they do, but we're going to be learning. I feel like it's a bit personal for me because it's something to do with parenting and pre-teens, teenagers. And I have a young gangster in my house who's about to hit her preteen. So I'm here to learn with you. So in the studio, I have Kami, I have Dr. Carol, and I have Evelyn Casina. Ladies, good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning. So my name is Hamida.
Yes. Oh, Hamida. Sorry, my mistake on that one. Hamida. Good morning. How are you guys?
We're very fine, Calvin. Thank you for inviting us.
You guys are most welcome. I love the fact that we had such a brilliant conversation even before we got on air. And your titles are very, very interesting. I'm a bit spooked out, right? So a couple of years ago, I went for therapy and I was looking at your titles. Of course, Kami, you're a counselor. Dr. Carol, you're a therapist. And Hamida, you're a psychologist, yes, right? Yes. And I was just like, what?
We're not going to shrink you. We promise. We will not shrink you.
Yes. Yeah, that's tough. You know, a lot of people get very spooked out when they hear anybody's going for therapy. Right? But we'll get into therapy a bit and, get into it and all of that and demystify it and all of that. But right now, I want to talk about this very beautiful thing that we've been talking about. Kids who are about to turn into teens and parents to teenagers. Where do we start?
Let's start with the kids.
Okay, let's start
because
with
that's
the kids.
Why the parents are there.
Yeah.
We have kids nowadays who are very exposed, like we were just talking about earlier, and they have a lot of influences that we never had at our age.
Yes.
Now, before you used to have your small environment of family and friends influencing you. Now you have China, US, UK through social media. So even your physical growth, your emotional growth, your spiritual growth is affected by all those other places. Can you imagine? So one person, one child has to now deal with this and still grow up to be a wholesome person.
Yes.
So what are we doing about it? We have to now come and intervene and see how can we best help them to be the best version of themselves. So it doesn't take them over and they don't know who they are.
Okay.
So as a parent, we can't do it alone. Yes. Parents have to come in now and be intentional about it and say, you know what, I'm going to do this with my child.
Yes.
They want to wade through these waters. Already for us as adults, we're trying to deal with all this and how it's affecting us.
There's a lot. There's a lot that you have to deal with.
So imagine your little you, your
little
gangster at home, dealing with this alone.
Yes.
If you're not there.
I like the word that you used, intentional, right? And as we get into it, right, from all of your different disciplines, because you guys are obviously in touch with a lot of, adults, kids at times, and all of that. Hamida, let me ask you this. Are parents as intentional as they claim to be?
Unfortunately, in my own experience, no.
Yes, that's actually what I wanted to get into. Yeah.
And I don't think it's something that they choose not to have. It is just the way life is. Life is extremely fast. We are looking for money left, right, and center, and we also want to become parents and good parents.
Yes.
But in the process, we get lost somewhere there, and it's even much more, sensitive when it comes to the preteens and the teenage age, because that's a very crucial developmental stage where we need to maneuver it in a very conscious, intentional way in order for us to get good results in the long run. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, I like that. I like how you've put it. There's a lot that goes on. And, I'm asking this because I sit around with a lot of parents, right? So bear with me as I ask all of these questions. Now, this one goes to Dr. Carol. Let me ask you this. What are some of the common mistakes that a lot of parents actually make to, especially preteens and teenagers, right? Because, like you said, this is a very, very important stage in terms of the character that you become, the career that you get into. What are some of the common mistakes that parents make? Why I'm asking this is because I had a conversation some time back with some fathers in their 40s, right? And one of them was talking about how they had a conversation with their mom, and they were telling their mom, listen, you don't need to be too cautious with my son as you are with me, right? Because I let my son make mistakes. And it was a very interesting conversation between two parents of different generations, right? So what are some of the mistakes that parents do?
I'll pick it up from what Hamida said with the intentionality part. I think one, we think intentionality is providing basics, physical needs, taking them to school and making sure they're signed up for the right activities to prepare them, whether it's swimming, piano, whatever it is. And then we forget the other part, which is just really being able to provide the right environment for our children to thrive mentally and emotionally. So for me, intentionality has a lot to do with that as well. So yes, I know you've talked about, let kids make mistakes and all that. When we were growing up, there were opportunities for us to naturally make mistakes.
Yes.
The way the world is set up now, we really cannot just let our children go out there and make whatever mistakes, drop them on the street and make them, allow them to make mistakes. So we have to step back and ask ourselves, how do I create the environment where my child is, one, emotionally well, emotionally healthy, and also provide that space where they can make mistakes, but within the confines of my ability to support them to make those mistakes.
Yes.
And so we need to unlearn. We've been talking about unlearn even before.
Yes.
We need to unlearn. We need to stop thinking that the way we grew up is the same way we will allow our children to grow up. They are facing a totally different world.
There was not as much inflation, I'll tell you that.
For sure.
Yes.
So what does that mean? It means we have to be out there working, and making sure we're providing for our children. So what does that mean? It means we don't have as much time with our children that our parents had, and also those who raised us, because we were raised in more of a community setup. So even if your mom was there or your parents were not there, you were not as left alone. So again, back to what mistakes are we making is not being aware of the kind of environment we are raising our children in. Our children have 100 million teachers at the click of a button. And here we are trying also to send them to pass down our values. So which voice do they hear? These 100 million voices, they are actually designed to capture our children's attention. So there's a way, these people have learned the psychology of how to capture our kids' attention and keep them hooked. And it's at the click of a button.
Yes.
We are still talking, let's wake up in the morning. This is, I walked 5 kilometers.
Lies. Lies. The parents used to give us.
Allowing ourselves to get into that space of, hey, this is a new world.
Yes, it is.
And we need to open ourselves up to new information. We need to find out, how can I be that voice of influence? Yes, they have 100 million voices, but how can I still stand and be that voice of influence and authority? And that's why, as individuals, we realized we're doing this work, it's a lot, but if we come together and begin to create those spaces where we are equipping parents to be that voice of influence, but two, we're also equipping children. So they are both they're both listening to the same voice, okay? And yes, we cannot avoid those 100 million voices, but we can be a voice of influence in their lives. Just for me, that is the intentionality that I'm thinking about. And that's one of the mistakes we're making without knowing. Just not opening ourselves up to really understanding the environment we're raising them in and getting equipped to be able to.
I agree. If you're just locking in, we're having a conversation to do with, preteens, teens, and parenthood right here on Trace FM. I've got Kami, Dr. Carol, and I've got Hamida with me. They're all parents and professionals, and we're talking about it. Now, the words, the birds, the bees, and beyond. How did that come about?
Actually, the birds, bees, and beyond came from Jennifer. She's the one who brought us together.
Yeah. Jennifer is in studio, by the way.
Yes, Jennifer is here.
She's just, orchestra master at the back. Yes, okay.
Yes.
And the birds and the bees, it's a term that was coined like when you're growing up, when you're going through puberty.
Yes.
So like, let's talk about the birds and the bees.
Yes.
The changes that are going to happen. So that's where it came from. And beyond means not just that. We're looking beyond that.
Yes.
What can you do? And how can you help?
I like that. Think about it. Now throwing back me as a teen, as a preteen, and when, changes were occurring and all of that, breaking my voice. 1 minute I was sounding this way, the other I was like, my mom was like, what? So it was very interesting. I grew up with a single parent, right?
Yeah.
So there were some of the things I could speak to my mom about, some of the things I could, some of the things I learned in school, but my grandfather and uncles were all there. So at least I got to have these conversations, right?
Yeah.
But at that point, like I was telling you guys, there was not much of of a place where I'd go or people who I'd talk to help me with all of this. And, it's amazing how we've gone on to be the parents that we are. But I feel like there's also some place where it's disconnected because you don't exactly know how to talk to your preteens because it didn't happen. Right? Is this a common problem that happens with a lot of young parents and parents at whatever age?
Yeah, I think parents at least are getting a little bit better in opening up because of reading and doing a lot of research. We have parents who invest in that and they're able to do those kinds of conversations.
Yes.
But we also have a huge number of parents who are not even comfortable having those conversations.
Oh, a lot of parents.
Yes, and they assume that the teachers at school will do that for them. But unfortunately, the teachers in schools are not equipped to take your children through that transition. It is not just a one-day conversation. This is a conversation that needs to be a continuous conversation and opening that the channels of communication so that your kids can be able to come back and say, hey, when you are saying this, is this what you mean? I'm noticing this. It's a back and forth, just opening a safe space. And that's what we are trying to do at the BADS, Bs, and beyond. Equipping the parents to be able to have those kinds of conversations and also to realize, hey, all these parents are talking about the same thing. I'm not alone. Yeah? And it's just that stage. And these are the challenges that comes with it. Yeah? But also equipping the preteens and realizing, oh, my body is beginning to change, there's a lot of peer pressure, and also preparing them for the teenage stage. And also for the teenagers to just prepare, because after that, where are they going? To adulthood. So you can see the transition. And it can be quite overwhelming and confusing because the kids are listening to all these voices that Dr. Carol has talked about. But, they're also going through it themselves, and it can be overwhelming.
It is.
Yeah.
It is.
Yeah.
I mean, that's why when you think about some of these things that people don't tackle at that very important stage, come back and haunt them, right?
Yes.
In the older days, right? It's something that happens. We're human at the end of the day, so we can't really fault anyone for that. Yes. But now that we've said that, and I like the word that you used, continuous, how can parents and the teens and the preteens be a part of this? How do we go about it?
Part of BADS is and beyond.
Yes.
Before I say that, just to mention, a lot of times when we do programs for preteens and teens, it's parents of girls who come. I think a boy child is just left there to wade through the spaces by himself. So we actually very categorical about this. It's boys and girls.
Yes.
Don't leave the boys behind because we can't have empowered girls and the boys are like, okay, what's happening? So that's why we are bringing them all, the boys, the girls, the dads, like you, Calvin.
Yeah. It's interesting that you say. It's interesting that you say that because my daughter has all female cousins, right? All girls, right? So there are about 4 of them. So unless she has a boyfriend at school that I don't know about, who I have to drag to this, But I actually, it's something that that happens quite a bit. Even as older men, you tend to see that men will not openly want to talk about these things and what have you. So for us guys to make that generational change, it actually has to start. It has to start now.
Yeah. Exactly.
So how can we be a part of it?
Well, we are having BADS, Bs and Beyond sessions, forums, and workshops on the 18th and 19th of June. It's either or. Choose a day. And we are having the parents' workshop where they're going to have, I think Hamida and Dr. Carl will talk more about that.
Yes.
But we have the preteens, we call them tweens, and we have the teen sessions. It's just fun, interactive sessions. So they're going to learn something about how they're growing up, about the digital spaces that are there, because that's where we are now. And we cannot be saying, okay, you're going to grow up and ignore the digital space that they're in. So we have this 3-hour session for them to learn, and then whatever they learn as well about puberty and the digital space, the parents are also learning. So at the end of the day, they'll go home on the 18th, you both have something to share and say, this is what we learned. And we have some great things on board. Like we have Vaji who are going to be giving some gifts for the kids. So it's really something we're very excited about.
What about the snacks?
There will be snacks and good ones as well.
Yes. Because that sounded very good and it's very good, but with the teens, what about the snacks?
There's going to be good food. Like we've sat and thought about this very well. Yes. So not to worry, they'll be well fed.
They'll be well
as
fed.
they have fun, because that's energy being expended. So
So the 18th and the 19th, right? So we've now spoken about the twins, as you like to call them. Now for the parents, what should they expect?
I mean, just a safe space to communicate with other parents.
Yes.
We are going to have activities. We are going to have, real life scenarios to explore and see, okay, if I find myself in this situation, how do I handle myself?
Yes.
How do I manage my child? So that we are still connected, because normally there's a lot of conflict at that age.
Yes.
A lot of conflict. A lot. I see it in my office. I see parents just come in and you give them like 3 minutes or 5 minutes to just cry before they tell you what is going on. So it's a safe space for them to just be with each other and learn from us and also learn from each other. Maybe Kara, you can top it up. Yeah,
absolutely. Just a space where they realize that, hey, I'm not the only one going through this.
Yes.
And it's not from a misery loves company perspective, but from a place of, my goodness, this is a common thread amongst us. And hopefully we will start those conversations going forward.
Yes.
And we're happy, we have our sponsors, Prudential Insurance, we have Kidimani, Project Foundation, who are also coming together and supporting us to make sure that parents have the best experience. So yes, we're looking forward.
So what's the venue?
I hit.
Just down the road. Yes. So I hit. You can't miss the site. Literally, you can't.
On the wall.
Right before it's on the wall before you get towards Royal Media. It's literally that's the right hand side. You'll find it right over there. So next weekend, the 18th or the 19th, you can either do Saturday or Sunday.
Tickets are going for.
Okay, tell me how much.
4,000.
4,000 shillings.
Only per person. But if it's a group of, is it four?
Yes.
Then we have a discounted rate.
We have a discounted rate.
Of 14,000.
Yes.
Yes.
Group of 4 discounted rate. I mean, that's a good deal.
Yes. If you come with your son, your daughter, or your cousin, or your nephew, your niece, there's a discounted rate. Group rate. Yes. So we're encouraging the groups to come with, encouraging parents to flock in.
Yes.
Just come with your children. It's an outing, a fun outing, but also a learning experience for everyone.
All right. Thank you very much, ladies, for coming through. And I appreciate the work that you guys are doing. This is definitely something that needs to be celebrated, because a lot of people are just, everybody's just winging it at times, right?
Yes.
So we need to have great resources, right?
Yes.
So Hamida, Carol, and of course, Kami, thank you very much. I will be there on Sunday.
Oh.
Yeah. I'll come down. I need to learn.
You can come with your friends.
My friends. I can't vouch for them, but for me, I will.
Yes. Awesome.
Alrighty, thank you very much. Let's take it back into the music right here on Trace FM First.